Okay.
Okay, calling to order the tonight's Surveillance Advisory Board meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag. Okay, then we'll switch to roll call.
Yes. Board Member Pashok.
Here.
Board Member Riddell.
Here.
Board Member Stewart.
Here.
Vice Chair Lee.
Here.
And Board Member Moreno.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you. Turning to the community forum, we have several speakers present. I only have one card.
No,
But,
she's saying speak up a little bit louder.
okay. Turning now to the community forum, we have at least one speaker. Ron Tesnow, can you go over to the podium? Share comments, thank you.
Right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ron Tesnow, and I live in the Heritage District of our fine city. It's great to be here with you all. I wanted to speak in support of the recommendation to not proceed with the implementation of the automated red light enforcement system from Conduit as outlined by Police Captain Jerome Batista. I appreciated that the slides that you put together, very well done. I'm a fan of good, solid presentations, so thank you for your efforts in putting that together. It was really great. So I recognize the problem that we're trying to solve. I witness the running of stop signs on a regular basis, maybe red lights, not so much, but definitely stop signs. So, definitely understand that it's an issue. My issue is with the low benefit to cost ratio of the system as proposed and the kind of deceptive way that it's being marketed. I visited the Conduit website. I read their article, Reimagining Public Safety, Why Automate Traffic Enforcement, as well as reading some other background information on Conduit themselves. Among us other interesting information regarding that company, I mostly found out that they misquoted the survey that they used to promote their product. In their article, they say, and I'm quoting, "Drivers know it's important to follow the rules of the road, but they don't always do so. In one national survey, 85% said it's very or extremely dangerous to run a red light, but 31% of respondents also said they had done so in the last month." I followed the link to the survey that they quoted. It's a AAA Foundation survey titled 2018 Traffic Safety Culture Index. It's a, quote, nationally representative survey of less than 3,500 respondents from an, quote, online probability-based research panel maintained by Ipsos. It's a company from Paris, France, whose presence is shown when I looked them up online with the tagline, "Take surveys, influence brands, and earn rewards." So I'm not sure how nationally representative this survey actually is. That being in mind, survey results there state over 85% of drivers consider speeding through a red light to be very or extremely dangerous. So far so good, that matches. And then it says, and 55% felt that the police would catch a driver for running a red light. So that's not the same as what they actually put in their article. So a company with over $4 billion of revenue misquotes its sources in its promotional material. That's a kind of a concern to me. I did follow an additional link quoted in their article to an article, Red Light Running, published by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, that indicated to me that it's fear of the camera. It seems to be the primary motivator in reducing red light running incidents. That definitely seems plausible to me, but additionally notes that proper signal timing makes intersections safer.
Time.
Just to conclude, it seems to me that represents a lower cost option than investing millions of dollars of taxpayer money in a system with manipulative marketing and thus far demonstrated low return on investment. So I'd like for us to bear in mind, as you always do, that we must be thoughtful about the costs of the taxpayer, benefits of any endeavor. With that, I thank you for your time and consideration. Wish you again a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Tesdell. Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments?
I'm sorry, I have a question, but it's not for you, sir. So thank you for your comments, and don't take this the wrong way at all. I just have a question for our council here. Our public forum is for items not on the agenda, right? So that his particular comments, and I have no issue with them, I appreciate it. But his particular comments should have been on the actual item, right? I just don't want, as our crowds hopefully grow, when we get more people who are engaged, that we don't have a bunch of folks who want to speak on an item before we even get to that item.
Naveen,
Yeah, you can go ahead and comment.
Yeah.
That is correct. Yes.
I just want to just make sure that we just stick with that in the future. That way we can kind of keep up to where we're at. Because usually it's easier to take notes when things aren't on the agenda. But if we're kind of flipping through pages, one, I don't want to be rude to the speaker because now I'm trying to get to where they're at when we're not at that point in the agenda. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
okay, we have a couple more guests in the audience. Does anyone like to speak?
What is your name, sir?
Hi, committee. My first name is Floyd. My last name is Hall. And I'm under a little bit of background. I'm under a great deal of duress here in the city of Vallejo. It seems as if recently, I would say middle part of last year, that I've become a person of public interest. It just seems very, very odd to me. Little background, I'm 46 years old. I've lived here in Vallejo for almost 40 years, my family and myself. I attend a local church here. I'm inspired by the city of Vallejo. I do a lot of good work here. I work as a driver. I've been doing that for the last 5 years in logistics. I've noticed recently that I'm being followed in my cell phone, my tablet, all of my technology is being hacked. On occasion, I've noticed that this committee has organized and put in place surveillance equipment, vans, X-ray vehicles, and drones. I've noticed drones following me as early as middle part last year. Everywhere that I went, drones were following me. Internet vans blocking my Wi-Fi. I remember several times attempting to write various committees within the city and the police department reporting this type of harassment, this type of evasiveness, and this type of shaming. I remember last year also, while driving, I was followed by not just a few vehicles, a large fleet of vehicles, all signature S. These vehicles were drivers, some members of the community that I did recognize, others I did not. As I mentioned, I've been driving in logistics for 5 years all over the Bay Area, so I recognize driving patterns, and I could just tell non-residents of Vallejo. I mean, there's just kind of like a signature kind of look and feel. And I've noticed that I'm being followed by this agency everywhere that I go in the city of Vallejo. Just today, I was followed. I did a route in San Rafael. I was followed on 37 from Vallejo to down 37 throughout San Rafael while doing my deliveries. Recently, this morning, I woke up early about 7:30. I arrived at the police station, not knowing. I thought they would open up at 8, so I waited and I was doing a report. I was able to go in and report that I was being followed by a fleet of vehicles that are black and white. So they're all makes and model of cars. They're different genders, ages, and different vehicles, but mainly black and white or white and black with various color trim.
Time.
We have 3 minutes for the community forum for each person, but if you allow any more, that's fine.
Does anyone on the board have any questions? Okay. Do you want to just wrap up quickly?
Just
So-
2 minutes?
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So I guess after going to the city's website, I saw this committee and some of the, technology is needed within the city. I mean, as a thriving city, technology is needed. However, technology shouldn't be used against citizens who's just living on, I'm living a normal existence. I'm a normal person. And it seems as if I want to ask this committee, has my name been associated with any other outside agency, whether it's under the Department of Justice, whether it's an allied agency or such? It seems as if, again, that I'm a person of high interest. I am being followed. If I was out 24/7, I would be followed 24/7. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions, comments from the board? I think we have a couple of other guests in the audience. If anyone else wish to speak? Okay. All right. So let's move on to the consent calendar and approve of last meeting's agenda.
We can do it with one motion.
I move the agenda.
Second. Okay, approving meeting minutes from January 16th.
Yeah, we can do this in one motion,
Sure.
consent calendar and the meeting.
I'm sorry. I move the consent calendar. I apologize.
Okay. All right, I'll call the roll. Okay. Board Member Pishulk,
Approve.
Board Member Riddell,
Yes.
Board Member Stewart,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lee,
Yes.
and Board Member Moreno.
Yes.
Thank you. And Chair, Vice Chair, do you want me to proceed with the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So next item is the report of the secretary, which is not much to report other than letting the board know that the application period for various boards and commission appointments is open right now. And it will remain open till, I think, April 13th or so. And then the interviews are being conducted on April 23rd. We have 3 candidates for the SAB, and hopefully more people apply. So please pass the word on. Thank you.
Super. Just related to that, do we have the training materials that we recommended to be posted on the site?
I have most of it
Okay.
done, but we'll have that on a separate web page on my Vallejo.
By when?
I can, hopefully when the new members are here, and then we're conducting the next set of Brown Acts and Code of Ethics trainings, we can have that material available.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Maybe would this be relevant in this section where asking about where we're moving with the agendizing and getting us to have frequent meetings each month? Would that be here, or would we move that?
You can do that in the future agenda items too.
Okay.
Yeah. And to report, just to report that to you, that is something that the mayor is discussing. So that is on city attorney's radar, for sure.
Okay, well, just to kind of tie into that,
Mhm.
the board made a recommendation on, or they passed a resolution September 6th, 2022, which is 2 years, 6 months, and 21 days ago. So I'm glad to hear that Mayor Source is moving, because in her last meeting with us in November, she said she was going to put it on, agendize it in January. So I'm glad to see that she's hopefully going to be moving that forward.
Yeah, so that particular item is on a council referral list. And that is something that the city manager and the vice mayor and the city clerk, they discuss on those items. And then they're the one who are referring those items when that can be agendized.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I've been requested to inform the Surveillance Advisory Board members to please try to speak a little bit closer into the microphones. Sound is coming out a little bit lower than we would like at this point. So if you can just be closer to the microphones, we would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Now turning to the city attorney's report.
Nothing to report from the city attorney's office.
Report of the city council liaison. Okay. And then Board of the presiding officer member, the board, will, we're going to report on the subcommittee discussions regarding the Raven policy at the future agenda items. So anybody wish to report anything, a member of the board?
I just want to kind of, I guess, more to your comment about the mayor bringing. Sorry, am I good, Manny? All right. In terms of the mayor and the bringing forward our having more regular meetings, right? I think that's also, and please, council member, correct me if I'm wrong, it's also part of a bigger conversation the council is having in terms of all the commissions, right? So I just wanted to share that as while we're talking about or discussing having more regular meetings, we're also discussing having the potential of the effectiveness of some of the other commissions also, because there's a lot of commissions and there's a lot of overlap, as I'm sure some of us would agree with that. So that's just, that could be also part of the delay also. So just wanted to share that with you all.
Yep.
Moving over to the action calendar.
Yes.
There's a resolution to adopt recommending against deployment of automated red light camera technology by the Vallejo Police Department, and making changes to the resolution during the meeting. Okay. Does there any board member wish to speak?
Vice Chair, we
Yeah.
have a presentation from Captain
Okay,
Batista.
first.
And then after that, you can open up for the comments, from public comments, and then have the board discussion.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, board. Captain Jerome Bautista with the Vallejo Police Department, and I'll be presenting a PowerPoint presentation to you all regarding the automated red light enforcement system. What is RLES? RLES stands for Automated Red Light Enforcement System. It's technology that uses cameras installed at intersections to automatically detect and photograph vehicles that enter the intersection after the traffic light turns red, capturing their license plate number and sending a citation to the vehicle's registered owner.
I'm sorry, Manny, can you enlarge the screen on this side here that we can see?
It's blurring. The resolution's bad. Maybe bring it closer.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. What is the purpose of RLES? It's to supplement traffic enforcement efforts to reduce vehicular collisions and red light violations at selected intersections by accurately identifying red light violations on a 24-hour basis. Locations would be based on a traffic study to determine the intersections with a high likelihood of traffic accidents and/or red light violations. Violations would be captured via snapshot photo of the vehicle in question. Designated traffic staff would then review and verify violations prior to any citations being issued. And this is all in accordance with 21-455 through 21-455.7 of the California Vehicle Code. The cost of RLES. Next slide, please. And this information is based on our neighboring agency over at Napa PD, and it includes the cost of 4 intersections, meaning 16 approaches total for 4 approaches per intersection. And the cost for the RLES is approximately $4.1 million over the course of 5 years, so $820,000 per year. And the cost to relocate these the RLES system is approximately $1.2 million. That includes construction, surveying, city permitting, infrastructure adjustments. When researching our list companies compared, there were four. The first one being Conduit, second, Vera Mobility, third, Nova Global, and the fourth one, Genoptic. Next slide. And the reason why Napa PD chose to use Conduit for their R list was based on the pricing within California, and Napa chose to go with Conduit because it's also currently being used in Beverly Hills. All of the companies were relatively the same price, and no other agencies in Solano County currently have R list. Next slide. R list program implementation. In order for us to create this program, we'd have to create a policy, interface with SAB, assignment of day-to-day operations of the program, provide ongoing training, review of daily infraction videos and photos, investigate identifying drivers, masked drivers, and drivers who are not the registered owner, issue citations, and prepare videos and photograph redactions. Additional police department support staff would be required. VPD currently is in a major staffing deficit with 40% officer positions vacant or defunded. VPD is unable to provide basic traffic police services such as traffic enforcement, and we have a backlog of abandoned vehicles and blight issues with extended or no response to lower priority calls. There would be an increased workload to police department staff. The traffic division has been dissolved to one sergeant, one officer, one police assistant, and one police clerk, who are in charge of reviewing all traffic collisions, investigating fatal collisions, reviewing all city permits, OTS grant management, tow rotation oversight, special events management, all impound hearings, abandoned vehicle abatement, and traffic enforcement. In order for this to work, we would minimally need one lieutenant, full-time lieutenant, one sergeant, two officers, one police assistant, one clerk, for a traffic division to properly maintain the basic functions of traffic in addition to management of the RLS program. Next slide. There would be an additional impact on the collaborating departments. There would be an increased workload to city staff, public works, traffic engineering department. They would have to conduct surveys, construction infrastructure assessments, permits, and public messaging. The Solano County Courts would also have to be on board with an increase of citation intake, significant impact to their court calendar, and technology or specialized issues in prosecuting these type of infractions. Next. Some of these challenges continued of our list is that drivers become familiar with these locations and simply avoid them. Locations would need to be rotated in order to influence driver behavior citywide and not just at that intersection. As I mentioned earlier, it would take $1.2 million to relocate for construction surveying, city permitting, infrastructure adjustments. Additionally, COVID has increased mask wearing, and it's now difficult to identify the drivers. Citations that are issued to the registered owner of the driver may not be the person who's driving. This will cause an additional workload for city staff to ID the driver, resulting in infraction cases being dismissed due to lack of evidence. Next slide. Some of the ongoing issues reported by Napa PD are substantial. There's a substantial fiscal investment. During the installation phase, there were unforeseen obstacles with construction. These issues caused contract adjustments and major additional fiscal impacts and time delays. There's new legislation that is currently being explored to change it from the driver's responsibility to the registered owner's responsibility, which may cause unintended consequences. As of March 10th of this year, Napa has not sent out their first citation, and their project started over 4 years ago, and only one section is currently up and running. Next slide. Our current staffing at Vallejo PD includes 78 total sworn officers, which includes our chief, deputy chief, lieutenants, sergeants, and corporals, all of the rank. 41 officers assigned to patrol, and our traffic division consists of one sergeant, one officer, one police assistant, and one clerk. Our suggestion at this time would be to revisit the RLS program in a few years, either 2026 or 2027, and minimally required 1 lieutenant, 1 sergeant, 2 officers, 1 police assistant, and 1 clerk. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Captain Bautista. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. I really appreciate you putting all this together and taking the time to do the research, because I know I did research too, and it's not easy. My question is, I guess, around, like, this feels like it's more for the city council, not for necessarily us as much, around the privacy pieces. Like, what does that look like? Things maybe more on the purview for our board. I'm curious if you have any information about that.
I do not have any specific information on that, but I could look into it.
The question is that what is the purview? Why are you reviewing this?
No, around like the privacy aspect, like what the red light camera surveillance technology, like what are the privacy issues that might be something that we would need to consider from that aspect, for our purview.
Well, you are capturing a video, and that video is being stored somewhere, and that is where the issue is. That's where this board comes in to review the ethics behind it, or how that technology is used. So that is why you're reviewing it. And City Council has specifically asked this item come to you before, what City Council is trying to do is they're trying to make sure that police department have technology, but and they're able to function more efficiently. So they want to give them more tools, but the issue is that this tool is not feasible at this moment.
According to the staffing.
Correct.
But I have the questions around like other pieces, which, we can revisit later, but that's where I'm coming from, like the surveillance aspect of the privacy for the citizens, and like what these technologies offer or don't offer, and that taking that in consideration.
Okay, I think I'm understanding your question now better. So I think, yes, that conversation would be more appropriate if police department were coming to you saying, hey, we're recommending this technology. We want to buy this. Okay. So that's when you would drill down and go deep dive into what this technology does. How are you going to be storing the videos? What are you going to be doing with the photo captures? All that stuff would come into play at that point. So at this point, the recommendation is not to use it. So I think you don't need to deep dive into that aspect of the privacy. Am I understanding? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay. Well, actually, does anyone else have any comments or questions for the captain?
I do, but I would rather hear public comment first.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Vice Mayor Bergenzer, and I applaud you for your comments, Mr. Moreno. This is something that actually was requested by the City Council to come before you. This is something that we were looking at moving forward. And so I have grave concerns about this presentation and the fact that it's based solely on resources when that is something that the City Council needs to take into action. That's something that we can take and make actionable. We can find out whether we need more resources for the police. I certainly want to look at the staffing recommendations that you require for this program. But I think that was already pointed out, your purview is really to look at what are the privacy concerns with this? Because if this comes before the council and we look at it and it's recommended against it because of staffing, well, that's something that the council can take action, and we would move ahead with it because we could take action on fixing the staffing. But we're missing past the point of whether you're having concerns about privacy or if there's any concerns with the safety of the public because of this, which is what your purview really is. And so I would really like to have seen a deep dive into those issues rather than hearing what the resources would take and why this is such a bad idea when that's not something that you can solve at this level. So I guess I'll just leave it at that, but I would like to hear more concerns from you all about whether you have privacy concerns or safety concerns as it relates to the public, and not a discussion about the resources. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. And just related, that's actually a recommendation that I was going to make, since Our purview is just related to surveillance, and that includes the usage, that's collection and usage of any kind of personally identifiable data that the city and the police department is engaged in. The presentation, although very materially detailed, doesn't focus on that at all. It is like the city, like the vice mayor noted. It's regarding budget, staffing, problems that other cities have had with usage, but not not specifically on the surveillance and personally identifiable data. That's the main scope of this board. So thank you for that comment. So related to that was a recommendation that I have, which is regardless of what regardless of where this board is in at this point, passing a recommendation, passing a resolution, I strongly recommend that the police department consult with Public Works Director and or the Planning Commission for them to review the technology, review the presentation, and for them to weigh in, because this is not just surveillance. This is about efficacy in staffing, in traffic control, and those related commissions should have an opportunity to provide feedback.
Vice Chair, if I can jump in. Maybe Captain Batista can add to the conversation if you have additional information about the privacy issues that Vice Mayor was asking. Do you have additional information?
No, I don't.
You do not. Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other board members with comments or questions?
I'm wondering if we can also take some information from anything that's been discussed with the Beverly Hills one, and reflect on some of that information, any of their documents or anything that they have on that, because I know Napa hasn't really started yet. So if we could kind of add that into as a factor as well.
Were there specific information that you wanted me to inquire about with regards to Beverly Hills RLS program? And I could get those answered.
I'm blanking on the term, but the policy.
Policy and privacy, I would say, and then just the usage, of efficiency, I guess.
Thank you.
And Vice Chair, if I could just jump in.
Sure.
We do not have to pass this resolution today. We can just, we could continue this item and bring that additional information and then come back to you as well. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
In light of
Yeah.
in light of the Vice Mayor's comments and our individual review of the resolution, I recommend that we table this resolution pending additional, more detailed information regarding the surveillance and personal data elements of the technology for us to hopefully pass a more narrowly tailored resolution that is within scope of our board's purview.
Do we need to call a vote for this? Angad? We're not taking an action, but they're completing the item.
Yeah, I would vote for that.
Sorry.
Could you vote on this matter?
Okay, what is the vote? Can you state that, City Attorney? Actually, hold on. We have a comment here or a question?
Sorry. I'll save my question since we're going to table this, but I do, and to your point about having a more narrow resolution, specifically, I would like anything that's referring to staffing and operational cost to be removed out of the resolution. Specifically, and like in this case, we have the fifth whereas, the sixth whereas, and we don't have the data in terms of traffic patterns, which we can spend the money on that or not if we're going to move forward, or the city can decide to do that. But yeah, and then there's other issues within the resolution. So I would like that if and when this gets brought back to us, that those things are removed, but also anything sort of where, like the 8th and 9th, whereas here where it says drivers, sorry, the limited ability to identify drivers that can wear masks. Again, I think there's ways around that. We can identify those folks. Obviously, if a car is stolen, it's already stolen, so there's not going to really be a way to decide, to figure out who that person is anyway. But if and when this is brought back, I would like those things changed in the resolution.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, so,
One quick comment. San Francisco is implementing our list as well. They're using the second one, Vera Mobility. I'm not sure how far. I think they're kind of just installing it too, so it'd be interesting as well to track like how they're going. I know it's not, apples and oranges, but the understanding of the technology and if it's being successfully used or not, we can gather that from hopefully them as well.
okay, another comment?
Captain Batista, Captain, right? Forgive me. Is it common for folks to relocate the license plate cameras?
As for Napa, they're not up and running yet. They only have one intersection, so Napa has not. As far as Beverly Hills, I could find out if they do.
Okay.
And if there were any other specific questions that you guys would like me to take a deeper dive into, feel free to ask.
I have one more actually. You mentioned, I'm looking for the page here, that, oh, here it is. That during the installation phase here, there were unforeseen obstacles with construction. Can you figure out what those were? Because that could be anything, and and then why Napa isn't operational?
I think primarily it's because of that. It was because of the construction issues that they're running into, whether it's with doing digs and finding power sources that are not available or whatever it is. I'm not sure specifically, but I know it was when I did talk to their captain that was in charge of this. He was saying that it was all mainly constructional, which is why the delays were caused. So,
thank you.
Just to Captain Batista, just to restate the request that in order to get feedback and more buy-in from the public, I strongly recommend that you consult with the Planning Commission and obtain a resolution from them. That would be probably more in line with what this RLS is intended to do. Thank you.
So can you state that in a motion, please? For
Okay.
your request, and
Yeah.
then we'll vote on that. then.
Sure.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so,
So the changes that you've discussed, okay, I've captured most of them
Okay.
already.
all right.
So if you can just make a motion on those changes, then
Okay.
we'll bring that item.
So, okay, we'll so the motion on the table is to recommend the changes stated and to request the police department to submit, to present to the planning commission so that the planning commission will have an opportunity to weigh in from their perspective along the efficacy of this program.
Vice Chair, maybe it's not the planning commission, maybe it's the public works director that we can go first, okay? Because
Okay.
you don't want to, this doesn't go to planning commission, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is, okay.
Yeah.
So to submit to the public works director.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Okay,
Okay.
anybody seconding it?
I second.
I'll call the roll. Board Member Pashok. So motion is that we're going to continue this item with these changes that the board recommended, okay? Okay, Board Member Riddell,
Yes.
Board Member Stewart,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lee,
Yes.
and Board Member Moreno.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We'll bring this item back to you, okay?
Okay, next item is information calendar, technology usage reports.
Lieutenant Tai will be presenting those.
Sure. Good evening, Board. So in the packet, we provided the cell site simulator usage, which there was 0 in January, February, and 0 in March as of date. The second one is the license plate readers, the automated license plate readers. And we provided that from January 1st to February 28th. So we use the same format we've been using in the past. And then the last one is the drone usage, which there was 0 in January, and then there was a total of 9 in February was presented. And then the same thing, that was the format that the board agreed upon towards the end of last year. And if you have any questions on any of those, we'd be more than happy to further discuss with you.
Any questions from the board? Okay, we'll move on since there are no questions or comments. Okay, so the next item is the subcommittee progress, subcommittee report on the progress of the Flock Raven gunshot detection Raven policy. So just to update the rest of the board, the subcommittee has been meeting and exchanging emails regarding edits to the policy. I think we've made excellent progress, but we do have one unresolved issue, and just for everyone's edification, what the subcommittee recommends, and just to clarify, it's not just my personal recommendation, but it's all of the members of the subcommittee. We recommend that the police department add language in the policy that describes how the VPD will inform the SAB and/or the city council about relevant procedures and metrics in the administration of this policy that's consistent with the council guidance and instruction of how VPD should inform council and the SAB. So that's the general recommendation. And Captain, you responded to that and you wanted to address this here just to be more efficient. I'm just not, I don't think the members of the subcommittee understand why this recommendation, shouldn't be added to the policy. So if you could respond, please.
So generally, we do not include any outside entities within our policy because they're generally not permanent with regards to membership and or groups. So by not including specific details, it gives us flexibility to change the information that's provided in our logs, such as the changes that we've made to the CSS log and the the drone logs as well. And right now, we provide all the information that you guys are currently, that the board is currently requesting, and we have every intention to continue to do so in the future, regardless if it's in policy or not.
Any comments or regarding that from the subcommittee members that were?
I'm curious where this is, like where's the roadblock here? Is it like the police policies? Is it the language? Maybe we need to be a little more general. Like, could we do something like the VPD will provide the surveillance advisory board with appropriate metrics, procedures related to the surveillance program, subject to change as needed to support ongoing oversight and assessment? Like, would that be something that works?
So like the captain said, with the policy wise, the policy is a general guideline, and as it stands, there's no other committees that are listed in policies, which we're trying to stay with as a consistency for all of our members as well. And one of our fears is, sure, if we put something to that language, are we putting ourselves in a position where we could be violating our own policy? Yes, we would be. And right now, we're pretty flexible in the sense that the Surveillance Advisory Board comes, says, hey, look, this is what we would like. We work with you guys, make those changes, or explain why we can or cannot. And I think that that's probably the best way, because right now, the way it's listed in there, it tells you what the purview is, like we spoke about in the very beginning, the purview of the board, what you guys have, and then what we're gonna be able to present. Will that change with Raven? It could, right? Right now, the beta testing, we're trying to give as much information and everything to it that's supported with it. Is that how it was in the very beginning with the drones? I don't know. I was not part of it then. But again, that has changed and continued to shift. And we want to be able to be flexible with you guys as well as the rest of the community, be able to point those things out. We need to make a change. How do we make the change? For example, if that was in there for the drones and you said, we talked about, we wanted to be more reader, the ease for the community to look at and go, well, what is that call? Instead of just putting with the call for services, we were able to give you a little more description of it. If we put things that are set in stone, you kind of tie my hands or whoever else's to go, well, we're stuck.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's helpful. I think hearing that is helpful, but just to restate, the recommendation is not for specific metrics and evaluation indicators, but it's for a summary of how the VPD will inform, and we don't have to add this SAB. We could just inform the city council on how you are evaluating the performance of the tool. And so that's not specific language that ties you. It's just general language that we found that is present in other cities' VPD's policies with Raven, including the Champaign, Illinois Police Department.
Would you be able to send those policies to me? Because I know in the Raven, I had asked about that before. If you guys had other policies or procedures we can look at to try to help us guide. And I had asked if you had other things you were coming up with best practices.
Right.
And you told me
Right.
it was your own.
Right. Well, it's we just found it last week.
Okay.
And so it includes general, but again, it's not inconsistent with the language that we recommend, which wouldn't specifically tie you down to exact metrics, but just how you evaluate.
So Vice Chair, sorry to jump in. So you guys have made the recommendations and you've given them to the police department and you're working as an ad hoc committee. So when you're ready to bring the policy back to the board open, let's go ahead and discuss them at that point.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I don't think this is a place right now.
And
Yeah.
Councilman Moreno will be emailing everyone the policy that we found, the Champaign, Illinois Police Department's policy, which includes, very similar language on how to inform city council on the program performance.
And if I'm not mistaken, city council is not listed in our policy anywhere as well.
Okay. I believe it's listed in the Champaign policy, but okay.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, you guys work out that in the ad hoc committee, and then when you're ready to bring it to the board, you let me know, and I will put that on the agenda. Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
So
Could I get a copy of the policy of the current policy you have?
It's currently on our website as well, so on the website, but I can send it to.
Yes, please.
We can give it to the whole board, but it's being discussed in this ad hoc committee.
No, I'm not talking about the changes, but they're the policy that exists now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so can I have the secretary send that to me, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, that is a current policy or is it a draft policy? Because it's been presented as a draft policy.
That's the one we had spoke about prior, that we wanted to have a policy in place, so it was not just anything in general, and it was a policy that we brought forward. So it is the policy that is currently in play that we are working with the subcommittee to be able to determine if this is going to be the long term, as this was all beta tested only,
Correct.
and it was not fully implemented. So it is current.
Thank you.
it is in essence, it's a draft policy, but it is in play until you guys polish it. And then,
Sounds good.
yes, exactly.
I have a question. Since we're talking about a beta test, would it be, too out of bounds to have like that policy they're working on to include the language that we're trying to, push for to be for a beta test only? Like the policy for beta tests, because you're not always doing beta tests, but when you are, we need to really figure out how are we measuring the success of this thing if we want to, implement it in the future. So that's, I think, a question I have. Can we have a beta policy rather than just like a full policy? Because, we're on a beta that could go away. Or if we're gonna, we're gonna adopt it, or being able to view the metrics, you're sharing the metrics out, we're specifically calling out maybe things that are going to go on.
I think it's just semantics.
Okay.
It's semantics. You're putting the beta word on top of the,
Right.
because
Okay,
the,
right.
the police department wanted to have a policy on the website as the technology was in use, whether it's beta or,
Got it.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
that's I think semantics.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Any other comments or questions from the subcommittee members in particular? Okay.
I'll just, just tie in. I'm going to send you all the paperwork. I have it. I have 10 copies at home on my bed. But basically, it was a Champaign Police Department in Illinois. They tried out Flock Raven for 2 years or so, yeah. And they decided it wasn't for them. I know it's not direct comparisons, but the data and the technology use is, something that we're also going to be doing and doing. So that piece is relevant. And the other piece that was relevant was that they created a privacy, a policy around, just a policy around the Raven use. And they laid out a lot of specific things on there that we don't have here, especially like around reporting.
Right.
So I'll send that out to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Super. Okay. So we'll move forward with the subcommittee emails with the police department. Okay. Moving on to final item, future agenda items for if anyone likes to discuss.
I think the Raven policy would be the future agenda item that we're waiting for the subcommittee to, and the, the police department to kind of hash out. And then when they're ready for the open discussion, we'll bring it here.
Yeah.
So that's on the radar. And then I'm hoping to, once the board is fully filled, we'll schedule another Browns Act training for the board. So there's a couple of items that we can schedule for you guys.
And a more privacy-focused resolution regarding RLS.
That's coming next month.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the recommendation you guys made already. Yes. Yes. And then our next meeting is scheduled for April 17th. Yeah, third Thursday. 11A? Yes. You went very quickly. Recommendation is just yes, these are monthly reports that the police department presents to the board.
Are you referring to 10A, the usage report, the drone technology?
Yeah.
I'm just confirming because that's information, so we don't need to vote on that, right?
Yeah, there's no vote on that. It's an information item.
The police department presented and the board didn't have any questions. So it's just more FYI aspect for the board.
Ms. Becky, do you have any concerns? We'd like to hear them if it's okay with the board. Okay.
No, I think she was thinking that was an action item. I think it's an information. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I understand. It's the way it's worded, right? Right. I understand. I think it's the way it's worded because it says present.
I'll
Yeah.
clarify that better. for
Whereas the next
agenda.
item, yeah.
Yes, okay, yeah. I'll make that a little clearer in the next agenda. Okay.
And just for the board, myself and Captain Bautista will not be available on the 7th.
Oh, you're not, okay.
So we're gonna be, we'll out of town that time. Just, we can have somebody be able to present, however,
Arliss.
specifics, might be a little bit more limited.
Maybe we can find an alternative date that works. Okay, so I'll discuss with you. Okay.
Okay, move to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. All good.
Second.
Yes.
Okay.
Recording stopped.